Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to welcome devotees. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with the overview of the third canto. We're at chapter 20. And we'd like to seek the blessings of Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, so that we can please Radha and Krishna and Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, with trying to understand a little bit more about the Srimad Bhagavatam, the wonderful scripture, the literal incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Just a very quick overview. Too much. So, in very brief terms, the canto starts with Parikshit Maharaj. Okay, go on.
Parikshit asks Sukadeva Goswami to describe Vidur's activities, why he leaves Hastinapur after being insulted and traveled to the holy places. Vidur meets Uddhav and inquires about Yadus, Pandavas, and Krishna. Uddhav was feeling great separation from Krishna, who had just departed, and described some of his transcendental pastimes in Hastinapur, Vrindavan, and Dwarka, explaining not everyone, even the Yadus, understood his supreme position as Bhagavan. Uddhav describes how the Yadus disappeared and how he met Krishna and Maitreya in Prapash, where Krishna gave his final instructions and tells Uddhav he will go to Vaikuntha at the end of his life. Uddhav recalls the pastimes of Krishna to Vidur, who makes further inquiries, but Uddhav refers him to Maitreya due to Vaishnava etiquette. Vidur was overwhelmed by Krishna's remembrance of him at the time of his return to Golok. He went to Maitreya, and Vidur asks many questions to Maitreya about the creation of material world, how the Lord incarnates, etc. Maitreya, being pleased, begins to describe the process of creation, how Vishnu awakens Maya Devi and brings into play the 23 elements with their respective devtas, who pray to the Lord for empowerment as they can't work together. Then Vishnu enters into the elements, which transforms into the universal form, Vishwarup, which in turn divides into various Shaktis and then demigods, planets, and Varnas manifest. Vidur asks about his doubts, which Maitreya dispels, and then Vidur asks lots of further questions. Maitreya explains the disciplic succession, and then about Brahma's birth, meditation, self-realization, and darshan of Narayana and Vaikuntha. Brahma surrenders to the Lord, offering wonderful prayers, begging for protection. The Lord blesses him to do this service of creation, become his devotee. Maitreya describes creation of planets, the three types of annihilation, 10 times of creation, and time, including Brahma's time. Maitreya explains the birth of the four Kumaras, Rudra, and the 10 sages, the incident with Brahma's daughter, advent of Swayambhuva Manu, which relate to the pastimes of Varaha. Vidur asks further about Varaha, and Maitreya explains about Kashyap and Ditya's inauspicious uniting. Demigods go to Brahma for help as the darkness has covered the universe by the unborn twins. Brahma tells them the story of the twins fall down from Vaikuntha due to their offense to the four Kumars and assures this is all part of the Lord's plan. Hiranyaksha picks a fight with Varun, who refers him to Vishnu, Varaha. Hiranyaksha seeks out Varaha, challenges him. A great battle of words, and then action ensues. The demigods pray for the Lord to kill the demon before evening dawns. After a wonderful battle, the Lord easily kills the demon. The demigods sing the praises of the Lord, who returns to the spiritual world.
Which is where we left off on Friday. And just tracking the conversations at the end of chapter 19, which we did on Friday, came back to Shonakrishi and Sutta Goswami, who was explaining how Vidur was elated with the descriptions of Maitreya Rishi's description of Varaha. The main conversation is still between Vidur and Maitreya. So this is one of the verses which we picked out from chapter 20. Ayo samvadato sutta pravatahi amalar katha apo ganga iva gagnir
Hare Padam Pujashraya. Shonak inquired about the conversation with Vidur and Maitreya. There must have been many narrations of the spotless pastimes of the Lord. The hearing of such narrations is exactly like bathing in the water of the Ganges, for it can free one from all sinful reactions.
So these topics of discussion are compared to Ganga, because Ganga cleanses one of sins, and so do the transcendental narrations. So this chapter is called Conversation between Maitreya and Vidur. So initially, Shaunak Rishi is very eager to hear more from Sutta Goswami about what Manu did after Earth was back in her orbit, and also about saintly Vidur's inquiring from Maitreya. He compares such discussions to bathing in the Ganga. This is just the verse we did, because both free one from sin. Sutta said that Vidur was delighted to hear the pastimes of Varaha. So now, in response to Vidur's questions, the primary creation is still being discussed. How the Prajapatis, such as Marichi and Manu, were created. They created progeny. Maitreya begins describing the creation again. From Mahavishnu, the karmas of the jivas, our karma, time, and the gunas, the three modes of material nature. Total material elements are produced to form a universal egg, which lays on the causal ocean for over 1,000 years. And then this egg is dormant, nothing's happening to it, because there's no life in it, because Vishnu hasn't entered. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the first expansion of Karadakshaya Vishnu, enters into the universal egg. So this egg is basically the shell, our universal shell.
Is that the first covering?
It includes all the different coverings. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's navel, so we've heard this pastime, and it's always a pleasure to recite this again and again. Lord Brahma is born. So the Visarga is Brahma's creation. The Sarga is before Lord Brahma gets involved. When the Lord enters his heart, Brahma creates the universe again. So the Visarga, including 5 coverings of ignorance. So we've covered that when we did the 12th chapter of the 3rd canto. And night which ravenous Rakshasas take possession of. The Rakshasas, pained by hunger and thirst, run after Brahma, who, although frightened, informed them that they were his children. Don't attack the father. The effulgent demigods, born of goodness, take possession of daytime. So the nighttime was taken over by Rakshasas, daytime was by Lord Brahma, the devatas. The demons created by Brahma were very agitated for sex desire. They chased Brahma, who took shelter of the Lord, and he prayed for protection from the Lord. And the Lord advised him to get rid of his body, cast off his body. When Brahma did that, his body became twilight. In fact, it converted into a form of a very beautiful lady. And the demons were enamored by her. She had an hourglass figure and was playing with a ball. And they became captivated by her, and they took possession of twilight. Then the divine and demonic creations, Brahma evolves various bodies, both shining and dark. He also creates the Gandharvas and the Apsaras from his beauty, the Bhutas and the Pisachas from his laziness, Satyas from his power, forefathers from his invisible body, Siddhas, Vidyadharas from his ability to remain hidden, Kinaras, Kimpurushas from his reflection, snakes, etc., from his sullen mood. So this is quite challenging for us to comprehend. It's inconceivable, but we don't have to worry too much about completely understanding this aspect of the creation. Absorbing himself in penance and meditation, Brahma created the great sages. Satisfied, he also created the human-like Manus. So there's a little note here. Sometimes the events of the secondary creation, the Visarga, are in sequence, and sometimes some elements are omitted or put in a different order. The actual sequence of creation by Brahma, as given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is first the animals with the 5 joints are created, trees and plants, snakes, cows and buffaloes, the Rakshasas, the Kumaras, then the Manus and the humans. So just to give a little overview of this, the summary of the manifestations from Brahma, the Visarga. These are the different verses in this chapter which show the different types of creations and so the different things that come from Brahma, what he's giving up, what he's being created, and what they're taking possession of. So if anybody wants to go through this list, I'll share it with the notes. Welcome to go through. We've done some of them. Demigods take, they come from the mode of goodness. They take control of the day. The Rakshasas, they take control of the night. The demons, they take control of the twilight. The Gandharvas, to take over the moonlight. Because that's the beauty of the Lord. Laziness, the Bhutas, Pisachas, those who sleep at night, early morning rather, those people are attacked by these fellows here, the Bhutas, the ghosts, and so on. And the most important part of this is from Brahma's mind come the Manus, the father of mankind, and from parts of his body come the great sages. Any questions on chapter 20? Quite a tough chapter.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
we did some part of the creation before, haven't we? I wouldn't.
Yes, we have.
23 unmanifested, 23 elements were created, and so this is further than that.
This is a little bit further. That's correct. This is a little bit further. So he's explaining a little bit more about Brahma. And we'll see, again, it'll be explained. And more detail is given. Absolutely right.
All right.
But yeah, creation comes, I think we've already gone through it a couple of times.
Yes.
But it's very brief. This is a little bit more information. That's
okay.
That's
Okay. And,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Prabhuji, chapter 20, verse 51.
Okay.
In the purport, it's saying, all the living entities created by Brahma are conditioned souls and are inclined to lord it over material nature. So does we belong to this category as well?
Well, I don't know about you, Malaji, but I definitely do.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Because this is what he's saying here, right?
Yes. The souls, like the great souls, the great sages, the Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, they are eternally liberated souls who come into this world to guide us back to the spiritual world. So, but we will be part of these conditioned souls.
Yeah, because seeing all the different entities that he created, like the Buddha, the Pichashas, I was thinking maybe we belong to the same categories. That's why it's written here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I see what you mean, actually. We don't form part of the devatas, because that is a different category. We can become devatas in time if one is that way inclined with karma. The yakshas, the rakshasas, they're in a category of their own. Again, we can stoop down to that level, but you'd have to go down a very long way to get into that category. Just like to get into the category of demigods, you have to go a long way. You have to do a lot of Vedic ritual. And
So it also says, unless one pleases the Supreme Lord or unless one is Krishna conscious, one cannot be happy either in material enjoyment or in spiritual enjoyment. That means that we are on the path then?
yes, for 100% sure we are on the path.
Thank you.
Just a question of time. Absolutely. Absolutely right, Mataji. We have a
Thank you.
spiritual master who has taken responsibility for us. And as long as we make our effort, do our part, which is not a huge part, how much effort can we actually put in Kali Yuga? But if we do our best, and I'm pretty confident that you're doing amazing service.
No, Prabhuji, it's by your mercy that we are trying to. We are trying to, yes, but by your grace, by your mercy.
Slowly we're getting there for sure.
Thank you.
Maji. Thank you for asking for clarification. So chapter 21.
Prabhu,
Karuna, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Karuna.
I had one question.
Yes.
Is Satyug, does Satyug starts when Brahmaji starts creation, or it's afterwards?
When does he actually start?
After
Yeah,
everything,
I think
after it's created everything.
that's a good question. I don't really know the answer. I would speculate that, as Jendi said, it would start once he has put the Visarga in place, the creation in place.
Okay.
I would have thought so. Why do you ask, Karuna?
Just like that, because we have been learning about the four yugas. So now that Varhadev has put the Mother Earth into orbit thing, so
It started. That's correct. It would have started
Yeah.
as the pastime start. As soon as there's activity, it would start. That's correct. That's correct. That would be a logical sort of way forward. So as soon as yeah, it has to start with Satyug for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. So yes, and Varaha appeared in Satyug. So that's correct. Swambhu Manu, he's obviously there from the beginning. He's the first Manu. So yeah, I think it would start as soon as Visarga is in place.
And I would assume any jiva who's like destined to be a demon at that time would go to the planets of the demons only.
Yeah.
And things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's how it would work. That people are placed wherever they're supposed to be placed.
Wherever they left off, they start again.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would have been a part of the
I think, yeah. In Navi, I think when Brahma starts to create, he has to start creating with like false ego and ignorance and all that first, so that whichever living entities come from spiritual world, because they're fully cognizant in the spiritual world anyway, so then they get this false identity of illusion that, I can lord it over material nature. So there is ignorance first, and then it's goodness, and then Brahma starts to realize that, okay, I'm creating all these things, but it's, like yakshas and rakshas, when he creates them, they start to attack him and say, get him, and because they're in ignorance, so they don't realize who Brahma is and all that, and then they suddenly start to attack him. Then Brahma realizes he goes to the Supreme Lord for protection, and Supreme Lord says, give up your body, you know. And Prabhupada in the purport says when Brahma actually gives up his body, doesn't mean he gives up his, it's the mentality he gives up, because the mind is like a subtle body as well.
Right.
So he gives up that mentality of ignorance and creating yakshas and all. So he starts to create demigods and other creations. And finally, you'll see how he creates the sages and all that. And there are certain entities, obviously, within this creation that are already liberated, because otherwise there would be no guidance or way of showing, you know, solution. If everybody is just in ignorance and in a conditioned state, then there is no way of finding solutions. So there are always living entities there who are liberated and going to give guidance. I think, is that right?
Absolutely. The great sages, basically. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Well, thank you for, let's look at chapter 21. Navajatu mrishaivacha Vajadeyaksha mataranam Bhavat Videshu Atitaram Mai Sangha Pritatmanam.
The Lord continued, my dear Rishi, O leader of living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration.
I think this is a phenomenal point, wonderful verse, where Krishna is reassuring that as long as we are on the bhakti path, there is no question of frustration. We may not even complete the bhakti path, but even then there's no question of frustration. Those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, we may not be fully Krishna conscious, but this is better than being no Krishna conscious and fully materially capable. So at some point, we have to get onto this bhakti path, and we have by taking the holy names, chanting on beads, reading the Bhagavatam. So we are on this path. So there's no question of frustration. And Krishna also gives this same guidance in the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter as well. So we are, Indulekha Mataji, on the right path for sure. So this chapter is called Conversation between Kardam Muni and Manu, Swambhava Manu, the first Manu. Vidur asked Maitreya to describe the genealogical line of Swambhava Manu. He especially wanted to hear about Priyavrata, Uttanpad, Devahuti, who married Kardam Muni, Daksha, and Ruchi. So we will see in later cantos, Priyavrata, Uttanpad, Devahuti we will see very soon. And Daksha we'll see later as well as Ruchi. So, now, we'll talk about Kardam in a little while. I've got a little bit of a profile on him, but he came, I don't know if devotees remember, he came from the shadow of Lord Brahma. He's Lord Brahma's son, came from his shadow, a great Muni. And Brahma ordered him to populate the world. And Kardam Muni, unlike the 4 Kumaras, and unlike Narad Muni, he actually followed the father's order. He purified his consciousness by performing austerities for 10,000 years. So this is Satyayug, right? 10,000 years. So he used up 10,000 out of his 100,000 years performing austerities. Through meditation and penance, he gained the vision of the Supreme Lord. So he saw the Supreme Lord, and this is how it's described in these verses here from 6 to 12. The effulgence like the sun, this is the Supreme Lord, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies, clad in spotless yellow silk. His lotus face was fringed with slick, dark locks of curly hair. He was adorned with a crown and earrings. He held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in 3 of his hands and a white lily. Usually it's a lotus, right? In the 4th. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood, which captivated the hearts of all the devotees. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kastuba gem suspended from his neck. He stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulder of Garud. Kadam joyfully falls at the lotus feet of the Lord and offers obeisances full of love. So this is Kadam Muni. We had our local photographer, Pitambar, on the scene. There's Garud, Lord Vishnu, on Garud, flying in, giving darshan to this great soul. And this is a phenomenal place, actually. So there's a description of this place as well. Kadam Muni offers prayers to the Lord, some of which are as follows. His eyes have become successful. So he's saying to the Lord, my eyes have become successful by having darshan of you. It takes advanced yogis lifetimes to see your transcendental form. Your lotus feet can take one across the material world into the spiritual world. These are really glorious prayers, actually. We should try to remember these prayers, or at least read them and try to understand what he's trying to say. Less intelligent worship the Lord for material things, but he is kind to them too. So even if one approaches him for material things, it doesn't mean the Lord will forsake that person. And then he talks about himself. He's like them. And he's worshipping the Lord to seek a wife of similar disposition, to fulfill his desires in married life. Actually, his desire was to fulfill the promise he gave to his father. And to do that, he needed to have a suitable wife. So he took shelter of the Lord. So it wasn't a selfish thing he asked for, because he wanted to fulfill his Brahma's order. People who take shelter of his lotus feet by discussing your lotus feet, by discussing your katha, are freed from bodily afflictions. The force of time as your chakra ultimately takes everything away, although time does not affect the devotees. You create, maintain, destroy like a spider creates its own cobweb and then winds it up. Completely independent. Then the Lord gives him, after hearing those prayers, lots of benedictions. Because of his sincere devotional service, that service of meditation upon the Supreme Lord, the Lord, who already knew his desires, assured him that in 2 days' time, he will attain a highly qualified wife, Devahuti, who is the daughter of Swambhu Manu and Satarup, his wife. She will be beautiful and will bear him 9 daughters and 1 son. And this was the clincher, the son being a plenary portion of the Supreme Lord himself. He'll be my incarnation. What a benediction to give to Kadam Muni. The Lord then departed. He leaves for Vaikuntha on his carrier Garud, whose flapping wings vibrate the hymns of the Samavedas. In the meantime, the worshipful sage Kadam stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovar, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. After traveling all over the earth, Swambhu Manu, with his wife Satarup and his daughter Devahuti, reached the hermitage of the sage, who had just completed his vows of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. A little description is given of this incredible lake. This lake, flooded by river Saraswati, contains the Lord's tears of compassion for Kadam. So he saw Kadam Muni's austerities and he felt great compassion and he cried. 10,000 years of meditation. Its shores are rich with trees, fruits, and flowers. Numerous animals and birds flock to the lake, which is surrounded by clusters of pious trees and creepers, rich in flowers and fruits of all seasons, which creates a very pleasing atmosphere. Must have been an amazing place, even in this world. Then Kadam Muni greets Manu. Seeing Manu approaching, Kadam greets him with blessings and respect. What what Varna, what class or caste do you think Kardam is and Manu is? Anybody like to share with us?
Presumably Brahmin.
Kardam Muni, yes, but Manu?
I think Manu,
Kshatriya.
ruler and a protector.
Yeah, absolutely right. Kshatriya. Very good, Suresh, thank you so much. Very nice.
Okay. I'm awake.
Sorry?
I'm awake.
Yes, thank you. Seeing Manu approaching, Kardam greeted him with blessings. Now, Manu is actually he is the part of the creative process. The father of mankind. Manu means father of mankind. But you see, Kardam is actually blessing him. So this indicates that Kardam is a Brahmin. He's a great sage as well. But he's also treating him with great respect. He highly esteems his position, Manu's position as ruler and protector of the universe, which means Kshatriya, warrior. Kardam compares Manu to the demigods, the sun god because of his majesty, the moon god because he's calm, Agni because he's invincible, Indra because he's Vayu because he's strong, Yam because he punishes the sinners, and Dharam.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I can't hear you.
Oh, can anybody else have the same problem?
No, we can hear you. No.
Oh, Nita, Kaushalya, you can leave and then come back in again. It might be
All
your...
right, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Dharma, so he rewards piety, and Varun, who has deep and hidden reserves. So this is Swayambhu Manu. It's a very accurate description of the power of Manu. Kardam was ready to do whatever Manu instructed. So although he was Brahmin, he paid him due respect, but not just due respect. He also honored his position. You are a protector of this world. What would you like me to do? How can I help you? That's where the chapter ends. And I wanted just to have a quick look at these personalities. Who are these personalities? Kardam Muni, he manifested from the shadow of Brahma. He executed austerities as we just read. He had 10 children, so 9 daughters, 1 son, and the son was a plenary portion of the Supreme Lord. His qualities, he was very dutiful. He honored his father by accepting and carrying out the instructions. He was honest. He said to the Lord, I am foolish to have approached you with material desires, but nevertheless, please fulfill my desire to marry. But actually, we can sort of understand his reasonings for approaching the Lord to fulfill the Father's order, which was to populate the world. And he had to have an appropriate companion to do that. Far-sighted. We'll see this in the next chapter. He says to Swayambhu Manu that, yes, I will accept your daughter, but after I've given her a son, I will take to the Paramhamsa stage of life. I will commit myself fully to devotional service. So he knew his position, that he had to perform bhakti, but at the same time, he was doing his duty to his father. Activities, he performed penances for 10,000 years in Saraswati River. He worshipped the Lord through devotional service in trance. So, oh, okay, I got more. He wanted to marry. And the reason why he wanted to marry, apart from fulfilling the father's order, not everybody is competent to be brahmachari throughout their life, right? One can marry if one wants to. It is therefore one's duty to act while enjoying in this world under the direction of the Lord or Vedas. So one can live in this world and partake in the joys of this world, as long as it's within the directions of the Lord and the Vedas. It's not said that we should just completely have a life which is devoid of any sense enjoyment, right? As long as it's regulated, that's fine. Regulated through the scriptures. Thus, conditioned souls can fulfill the desire to enjoy, but at the same time, gradually progress towards liberation. His interactions, we'll see this with Manu. You will read this. When appearance before Manu, Manu looked at him and saw his body was shining, right? He'd been doing a lot of tapasya, but still that tapasya, because he had darshan of Vishnu, his body was shining. He didn't look emaciated due to the Lord's affectionate glance. He was tall, lotus-eyed, matted hair, tattered clothes, appeared like an unpolished gem. Another interaction he had with Devahuti. Completely satisfied Devahuti's desire for material enjoyment by creating a celestial aeroplane, restoring her body. He enjoyed with her the best places of enjoyment in the universe. This was one big honeymoon. We'll see that in the next chapter. Enjoyed household life with her, gave her many children, reciprocated her service to him by offering the results of his austerities to her. So he was actually an amazing personality. And his son, the incarnation of God, is called Kapil. When his son appears, he requests permission for him to leave, to enter the renounced order. So we'll see that tomorrow. Devahuti, we can just have a quick look at her. We haven't seen her much, but we'll see much more over the next few paragraphs. Daughter of Swambhu Manu and Sattarupa, her sisters Akuti and Prashuti, brothers Priyavrat and Uttanpat, they will come across them in future cantos. Husband Kadamuni, her perfection, she achieved perfection because of her son, was deeply distressed upon Kadamuni wanting to leave home, wanted to enjoy marital life with her husband and son, which is natural, expressed her amazement as having the Lord as her son. Her qualities, she was a chaste and devoted wife, had all good qualities in character and was seeking a suitable husband. Her beauty excelled that of her ornaments, it says in the Bhagavatam. All of these quotes are from within the Bhagavatam itself. Her mind was fixed on Kadamuni when she heard about her character, his character. She neglected her body to care for her husband, so she did incredible seva. And Kadam was so happy with her. He said, all of the benefits of my austerities I give to you, because he was so happy. So she grew weak. She was emaciated. She won the affection and blessings of her husband by her service. Her activities, realization, she realized she hadn't taken full advantage of her husband's spiritual advancement. We'll see that tomorrow probably. Introspection, she considered herself cheated by Lord's Maya. She did not stop Kardam to go, but she begged for fearlessness. So she didn't stop him from leaving home, but she said, make me fearless, please. Which actually means, give me a son, because that is, a woman is always to be protected either by the father or the husband or the son. So if he's leaving, then she wanted that fearlessness through the son. Glorifies the holy name. She says, even dog eaters who chant are very, very fortunate. She got instruction. She adopted the practice of meditation taught by Kapil, became oblivious to her own body and achieved perfection. Her destination, she achieved Lord Kapil's planet in the spiritual world, and her body became an auspicious river in this world. So really amazing personality, Devahuti. And finally, we just have a quick look at Kapil Dev, non-different from the Supreme Lord incarnation. His appearance, he came, his mother and father is Devahuti and Kadam, namesake. Often he's confused with another Kapil, who's actually an atheistic sage. That's almost like a contradiction in terms. How can a sage be atheistic? But there's another Kapil who also gave a philosophy known as, I forgot what it's called now. It's also called Sankhya Yoga, but it doesn't include the Lord in it. His teachings, the real Kapil Dev's teachings, Gyan Vigyan Yoga, Sankhya Yoga as well, distinguishing between matter and spirit. And we'll see a lot more of that in the next few chapters. He's one of the Mahajans, Vedic authorities. He's very beautiful. He's got golden hair, lotus eyes, lotus feet. His activities, he instructed his father in the path of self-realization, Kadam Muni, although his father already was a great sage, but of course the Lord is the Lord. He imparted knowledge of the highest yoga system, Sankhya, to his mother, and he explained how to detach from matter and search out Vishnu within the heart. And he requested his mother's permission. And still in this world, in trance for the deliverance of conditioned souls. So he's continued to live in this material world for our sake, That's we wanted to end today. Okay, so
Questions.
oh yes, let's just take some questions if there are before 5. Oh, it's not 4, isn't it? Naniben, are you okay?
Yes. I'm just thinking about the Devahuti, why she became so weak and emaciated. I could not understand that.
Okay, because she served Kadam Muni. Kadam Muni was constant meditation, and she also followed exactly in that same footsteps. So she was serving him constantly, and he wouldn't eat, she wouldn't eat. She was very chaste.
Okay.
He wouldn't sleep, he wouldn't sleep. So in every single way, she followed in her footsteps, and he became very peaceful. He's a really amazing sage. He's an amazing person.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you. That was good you asked, because we didn't clarify. Thank you. Okay, Indulekha Mataji. Are you there? Okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Yes.
Bol everyone. I'm here.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So lessons from Canto Chapter 1, if we make our home a temple, the Lord will definitely visit us. Chapter 2, in this age of Kali, our only tapasya is to chant the holy name of the Lord. Chapter 3, we all need a guru to guide us on the spiritual path. Chapter 4, no matter how learned one may be, one should not try to instruct someone who is well versed in spiritual knowledge and who is older than them. Chapter 5, the Lord's external energy is Maya, and through her the entire material world is created. Chapter 6, we should always engage in discussion of the activities and glories of the Lord, which are nicely written by the sages for our benefits. Chapter 7, by serving the spiritual master, one develops transcendental ecstasy in the service of the Lord, who vanquishes one's material distress. Chapter 8, the Supreme Personality of Godhead spoke this Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage for the benefit of those entangled in material miseries. Chapter 9, if we want to escape the anxiety of the material world, we need to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Chapter 10, all living entities are struggling with the forces of material nature, but by transcendental knowledge and realization, and by surrendering unto the Lord, we can control this material energy. And chapter 11, the Lord controls all the physical movement by his time potency, yet he is not visible in the physical world. Chapter 12, we should always try to control our anger, because once escalates, anger turns into wrath. Chapter 13, we should live our life in pursuance of the principles of devotional service and worship of the Lord by performance of yajna.
And it carries on, next page. Yeah.
Thank you. Chapter 14, as a good combination for spiritual advancement is needed in the human society. Thus, boys should be trained as brahmacharis and girls in the virtue of chastity. Chapter 15, only in the human form of life one can attain perfect religious knowledge. Even the demigods desire to have such life. Chapter 16, the water of the Ganges sanctifies the free worlds because it has washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Chapter 17, for peace to prevail in society, we need to follow regulations in life. Otherwise, we will have to undergo the stringent reactions of nature's law. Chapter 18, no one can surpass the potencies of the Lord, and no one should derive the transcendental form of the Lord as material. Chapter 19, we should always abide to rules and regulation in every aspect of life and respect our opponents. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
so can you go to chapter 4, please? Sorry about that.
Go to chapter 4.
Instructions from chapter 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Lesson from chapter 4, yeah.
No matter how learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter how learned or maybe, one should not try to instruct someone who is well versed in spiritual knowledge and who is older than them. Because sometimes sometimes because of the sort people are learning at very younger age. Some of them are very younger to us, younger than I could not understand that.
I think it's both.
It's older and younger, isn't it?
Yeah, it's well versed and older. So if somebody is well versed, and they are older, then really it should be the etiquette is that one should be listening. However, having said all of that, if you see the Bhagavatam itself, when Sukadeva Goswami came before Parikshit Maharaj, who was sitting there already? Vyasadeva, his own guru was there. Narad Muni, his grand guru was there. Lord Shiva was there. These are all highly learned personalities. But yet, they all made way for Sukadeva Goswami. So it always depends on time and circumstance. So maybe we just adjust this a little bit.
Yes.
Because.
Hare Krishna Babuji.
Yeah,
I am taking lessons from each chapter. So in this chapter is according to when Vidura met.
That's right, Uddhav.
And Uddhav did not want to instruct, to tell Vidura, because Vidura was older than him and Vidura was quite knowledgeable. So he asked Vidura to go and meet Maitreya Muni.
Absolutely.
So in this context, I'm taking the lessons.
It's the context.
Yes.
Yes, and yeah, that's it's okay. Yes, that's clear. One should not try to instruct, isn't it? I've understood. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not try to instruct, but not try to instruct.
But even Sukadeva Goswami was given the higher Vyasasan. He was not instructing, he was just narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, but everybody was there to listen. But in this context, Uddhava, he did not want to tell Vidur, he didn't want to answer the question of Vidur because he thought that Vidur was higher than him in age and in knowledge. So he preferred to send Vidura to Maitreya Muni.
Maitreya Muni, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Thanks.
Okay.
But also, if we see the Bhagavatam, technically, the most senior person should have spoken. However, because of the renounced position of Sukadeva Goswami, he was completely and utterly renounced. And as soon as he came on the arena, Parikshit Maharaj, he stood up, all the other stages stood up, and because they were waiting, who's going to speak? Nobody, there were so many conflicting arguments going on at that time between the sages. What should Shuka do? What should Parikshit do? So many conflicting arguments, and there was a lot of confusion. But when Sukadev Goswami came, his aura was so effulgent. Everybody shut up, and Parikshit approached him, and he humbly asked him, to take the seat. And Sukadeva Goswami did not hesitate. Doesn't say anywhere that he paid respect to all the sages, but he didn't observe the etiquette that you should speak. You're older than I am, because he was the right to Parikshit Maharaj at that time. It's time and circumstance. Very interesting.
Thank you.
So, Madhusudan Prabhu?
Jai Haribol, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Yeah, carrying on from there, Vidura is obviously a very learned.
Are you there?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, can you hear me now? You can see me as well, hopefully.
Oh,
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so as we're looking into the character of Vidura, and Vidura is obviously a very advanced and spiritually knowledge as well. So he's setting an example that when he was put in a situation where he was not being welcomed in the Dhritarashtra's palace and all that, so he just left and he went on a pilgrimage. And as Vidura, showed by example that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. And a devotee may be, I'm just trying to read, maybe tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior towards the Lord or the Lord's devotees. So sometimes devotees can tolerate in their own interest, they will not, take any offense or anything like that, or will tolerate some of the inconveniences or offenses or anything. But when it comes to, towards the Lord, then they cannot tolerate that. So wherever there's not Krishna, so when Krishna, he was not being welcomed in the palace as well, in Dhritarashtra, and they had ignored Krishna, Duryodhana had ignored Krishna. So Vidura didn't feel at home there anyway, so he went off to the places of pilgrimage. And obviously in the places of pilgrimage, Prabhupada expands a little bit more, that when we visit, in the Shastras recommend that we, in our, when Vanaprastha or wherever we can, we should visit the places of pilgrimage. But Prabhupada said that, in this age, going to the places of pilgrimage, like, Vrindavan and Dwarka and Rameshwar, and those are Hardwar, those are very holy places and places of pilgrimage. So we should go there, but not only just go there for the sake of going, but to seek out personalities who can, advance us in spiritual knowledge. And even now, Prabhupada and Narottam Das Thakur, Prabhupada said Narottam Das Thakur recommends that people don't go even there nowadays in Kali Yuga, because those places of pilgrimage are full of pseudo-transcendentalists who can actually, you know, just cheat you and all that, and then you get disillusioned, and people go there, and the behavior of the people there in places and put you off, you know, thinking of spiritual life. So instead of that, you know, we should seek out someone who is spiritually well elevated, and then seek knowledge. And rather than that, you know, chant, and wherever we are, they make that your holy place of pilgrimage where devotees are. And Srimad Bhagavatam, wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is, that's a place of pilgrimage as well. So we're fortunate, you know, that Zoom has become a place of pilgrimage in a way. But so that's the instruction, you know, from there, chapter 21, from the Supreme Lord instructing Kardama Muni. Srila Prabhupada in the purport says, even if he has, so, no, even if someone has some desires, one engaged in the service of the Lord is never frustrated. Thus it is said that if we pray to the Supreme Lord in every transaction of our material existence, everything will be done very nicely and just suitable to our heart's desire. In other words, in all circumstances, we must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, depend completely on his decision. So man proposes and God disposes, as the Prabhupada said in the purport. The fulfillment of desires, therefore, should be entrusted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that will be the nicest solution. So when we want solutions to our own personal life, whether we have material desires and all, they still depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think we covered that in the lesson, in the Nabiko, in the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, anyway, in that chapter. So yeah, I hope that makes, but there are a lot of good instructions as well besides all these. So.
And I really like that point about when you go to a holy place. If it's great to go to Vrindavan, but if we go there and just sleep and eat and just have darshan with our material eyes, but not seek out somebody who actually gives us knowledge and gyan, then it's actually a waste of time.
Yeah, even just yesterday I was talking to Trikali here, and you know, he has, you know, I share the same birthday actually, but he was saying how he knows one person, you know, who's done a lot for Vrindavan. He's renovated so many kunds, and you know, his name is Vinit Narayan. And he was driving along, and somebody said, "There's a Babaji who lives here. You know, you can go and have darshan." And when he went there and saw him, that person was so elevated and so advanced, just living so simply in a place just off track in Vrindavan. And as soon as he went to him, that Babaji said, he said, "You know what? You've done a lot for Vrindavan. You're doing a lot of seva, but you need to give up your political affiliations." And that is actually a stumbling block on your path. And he suddenly realized that, you know, he had been quite involved politically as well in Vrindavan and all that. And it's amazing how, you know, there are devotees who seek out those sort of personalities in Vrindavan, place like that, far more elevated and advanced. And certainly, you know, it's nothing to do with old or young or anything. It's more how spiritually advanced one is, you know.
So thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Point. Thank you. Any questions? There was somebody, Pinky Kumar. Did you have a question? Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments?
Prabhuji, it's me, Lovelina.
Oh.
Pinky Kumar is my. I wanted to know that, you know, on the path of spiritual consciousness, we are so dedicated to Lord Krishna. Why do we get alienated from human beings?
In Krishna consciousness? getting
Yeah.
alienated from human beings.
We get, you know, distant from human beings when we go delve more into spiritual consciousness.
Oh, okay.
Alienated from human beings.
Perhaps the word might be a little bit detached. Might be-
Detached, yes, 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 Prabhuji.
Generally, a devotee would not alienate himself. He would, especially what the society that Prabhupada has created. We live in this society and we are fully active. Right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Every field, even politics. Devotees are also politicians. In India, in Bharat, in America, there are devotees who are actually politicians. So
Yes.
we don't actually exclude ourselves from any part of society, at least not the good parts. The
Yes.
rotten parts we can't be involved in. So, but the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to remind us that we don't live in this. This is not our world. Our world is a spiritual world. And any attachment in this world to this world will keep us in this world. So if we attach to our children, if we are attached to our spouses, if we attach to our cars and our homes, that will always keep us here. So the idea of Krishna consciousness is to become attached to God.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Attached to God, the less we will be attached to this world. So devotees, generally they try to practice this attachment to Krishna and detachment from this world.
Yes, Prabhuji, that's what I meant. But is that a good sign, or is that
Very good sign. If that's
happening? Yes, that's happening.
That's happening with you. That's a very good sign.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
And can I expand a little bit? I mean, I feel that, generally I've seen it, that amongst the society of devotees, they start to feel that, I need to not associate with materialistic people and distance myself. And if I'm seen to be associated with them. And so it's the way of, if you're strengthening your Krishna consciousness and spiritual principles and all that, then you will learn to be strong enough to be in the association of whoever, doesn't matter who they are, devotees, non-devotees or anything, but you still, be strong in your principles, and they respect you for that, So it is question of not trying to isolate yourself because you're a spiritual life, but I would use the word, insulate yourself from the society in a way that you're insulating, not isolating.
That's a very nice point. The only thing with we have to be careful because those devotees who are very rich businessmen, they're out there. Like in fact, your very example, with what Trikal mentioned to you, that he said to that man, "You got to give up your political affliction. It's affecting you. It's impacting you, your sadhana." So we do have to be very mindful of the association we do take, because it can have such a devastating impact if we're not careful on our lives.
Yeah, if you're strengthening, if you're strong enough, that's why we pray to Lord Nityananda. We pray to Balaram, because Bala means strength. Balaram gives us the spiritual strength, and we take shelter of the spiritual master properly, then we'll be able to associate with everyone. But we remain strong in spiritual life, then that's but it's still not, it's very, very dangerous. It's like you say, the path is like a razor blade,
Edge. But if we don't have to associate with materially minded people, then we should not. That is for fact. It's only out of necessity would we want to associate.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Because if if we hanker for the association of non-devotees, we'll get it. Krishna will give us so much of it. Oh yeah, you want to associate with materialistic people? Here you go. Bang, and suddenly you find, where these guys all come from.
But that brings unhappiness, Prabhuji.
If you isolate, if you sort of not isolate, but become detached, no, it should
No, if you associate with such people, such materialistic people,
mislead.
it brings a lot of unhappiness and uneasiness.
I see. So you're saying that, yes. Yeah, because
Unease.
you'll be taken off the spiritual path.
Yes.
I think it would hinder you from advancing as well.
Good point.
Yes.
Good point.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, if you associate with non-devotees, the negative effect will have impact on you. We cannot detach completely from them, because sometimes, like our children themselves, some of them are not in Krishna conscious, or our family members, our siblings. So we don't cut off completely, but we minimize our interaction with them. And then we take the positive from them, we don't take the negative from them, and we associate more with devotees. That will enhance our capacity to move forward in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Lavlina, does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, that was very, very true and apt. That cleared my mind.
Well, we're on every day at 2:30. Join us as much as you can.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Today, pray for your mother.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Just give us her name.
Kanta Labru.
And when did she...
She left her body 22nd April, Prabhuji. Yes. For Krishna. Krishna took her. And she's at peace with Krishna.
And you spent time with her. So that was
Yes, Prabhuji. I was there in her last moments, and I was singing bhajans to her, and I knew her soul was at peace.
You did your duty.
I did my duty, my karma.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. But it's nerve-wracking because I really miss her so much, her bodily form.
Of course. But that is part of this process of detachment, that we have to understand that we thank the Lord for everything, good and bad.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Bad. But we just thank him. Thank you, my dear Lord. I really didn't like that, but I thank you anyway.
Yes.
What to do?
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Okay, we better Bhagavatam ki jai.